Bankless Nation, welcome to the first weekly Rollups round. I am Ryan Sean Adams. I'm here with David Hoffman, my host, and we are doing a weekly rollup. David, why don't you tell the folks what Rollups round are going to be?
Yeah, the crypto world is insane. It moves way too fast. And so we don't really have enough time to talk about it. And so what are we doing? We're rolling them up. We're going to bundle everything that happens into a week into a 30-minute episode. We have 5 categories that we're going to spend 5 minutes on each, and then a little bit at the end of what we are excited about. But we are trying to get as much information injected into your guys' brains as fast as possible. And that's exactly what rollups do. And so hence rollup rounds.
So if you want to catch up on the week that just happened in crypto, tune in on Fridays. That's when we're releasing this. We're actually doing a simultaneous release on both YouTube, so you can catch us there. We're going to have graphics. We're going to show you graphs, that sort of thing. It will also be published on the podcast on Friday morning for you podcast listeners. So you can enjoy everything that happened in crypto for the previous week on Friday morning with your morning coffee. Roll-up round and morning coffee sounds pretty good to me.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it. What are we rolling up first, Ryan?
All right, well, so we've got 5 categories, right? So we've got market, what's the market saying? We've got releases, what got released? We've got news, what's happening in the news? We've got some hot takes. And then lastly, we're going to end with what we are excited about. So first, we've got market. What is the market saying? David, we've got 5 minutes. I'm going to start the timer in 5 minutes to keep us honest here. And let's talk about the first items, which is Bitcoin and ETH price.
Yeah, Bitcoin is at 11,500. Ether is at $378, kind of being relatively flat, I would say. But there are some really cool things going on behind the scenes. Namely, along with this, is the Bitcoin hash rate is at an all-time high. And so while, prices, this is the first time Bitcoin has really sustained above $10,000, which is bullish in of itself. But, it's been here for a while. It's being pretty flat. But hash rate is at an all-time high. And historically, something that's interesting about miners is that miners tend to be really good traders. And so when they sell Bitcoin and when they don't sell Bitcoin has historically been really strong signals as to what's been about to happen next. So no lack of conviction on behalf of the miners.
David, why should we care about hash rate? It's always been like a metric that's like kind of close to the bottom of my list of things I personally look up. I like to look at like miner revenue and that sort of thing, but hash rate matters, right? Why does it matter?
Yeah, hash rate is like the shield around Bitcoin, right? And also around Ethereum during its proof of work phase, right? It's the height of the wall that any attacker has to get over, right? And, you are, as a miner, compensated for being a part of that wall, right? Adding a brick to the wall. And also what hash rate is a really good signal of is skin in the game bets, right? So like nobody has more at stake than with regards to the Bitcoin price than miners do, right? So miners are the most convicted party in Bitcoin's system, right? And so paying attention to what miners are doing is really important. And what miners are doing are accumulating more mining hash power, which is why hash power is at an all-time high. So miners are bullish.
So we got Bitcoin price above 10K, around 11,500. We've got ETH price at $380. So they're both kind of hanging in range, but like haven't had a precipitous fall lately. No. Pretty bullish, I would say. At least they're hanging in there through some of this market uncertainty. Let's talk about total locked value. That's another metric that we like to look at, particularly in DeFi. So you can look at it in 2 ways. The first is total locked value of US dollars. We're at 11.3 billion right now. This is like super close to our all-time high total locked value in DeFi protocols. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think the total was the peak was 12.2 or something, and then DeFi took a big tumble. But the fact that we are still at 11 plus, I think is so bullish. Yield farming seems to have taken a backseat. All the liquidity mining's paused. People aren't like cropping up farms left and right. Yet the total value locked in DeFi continues to just march up a goddamn mountain. It does not seem like it's going to starve.
You see this?
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like if you zoom out and see the 1 year on this,
Mm-hmm.
it is charging up that mountain.
Yeah, and maybe I'm biased, but I think that if we can just extrapolate what that slope looks like so much further, many more months into the future. So I'm excited for when DeFi US dollar value locked in DeFi breaks 100 billion in 2021.
All right, so that's hanging in there, even though DeFi assets themselves have experienced some decline recently, some as high as 50% or more. Also, ETH locked in DeFi is hanging in there too. So there's 8.7 million ETH locked in DeFi. That's around like 7-8% of all of Ether supply is now locked, and that's hanging pretty steady. I would say that's bullish for our thesis around economic bandwidth, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And, I'm going to be really interested to see what happens when staking goes live. I don't think it'll have much impact at the start, but for some reason, I feel like, ETH staking is actually going to add more Ether into DeFi because of the yields that are possible to be able to be extracted by DeFi based on the fact that Ether staking offers yields in the first place.
We also have Tornado Cash, which is doing more and more. This is a private solution for private transactions on Ethereum. They did 2.7 million in volume last week. That's pretty good.
Right. So what we're looking at here is how many people are using Tornado Cash in a 24-hour, at a 24-hour level, right?
So it was 24-hour, not 2.7 million in 24 hours. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
That's right. Even better. Yeah. And so there were 66 transactions that you put 100 Ether into the 100 Ether batch in Tornado Cash, which means that you can get, you can hide in a crowd of 66 other people with 100 Ether and then come out of that crowd like totally obfuscated. And that you can stay in that crowd for as long as you want. So like it's 66 people the one day, and then it's gonna be 120 the next day, 180 the next day. But the crowd in Tornado Cash is really strong. And so this is a privacy tool, right? Like we need a lot of Ether and we need a lot of people in Tornado Cash as this like thing that can help people enter and exit in a private manner.
David, we just hit our time for the market section. One last thing I'll throw out is in the Bankless newsletter, Benjamin Cohen published a brilliant piece on when Bitcoin moon that sort of predicts the longer term of Bitcoin using his predictive models and data science. Fantastic piece. Check that out. We'll include it in the show notes today. Let's get to the next topic. What got released this week? We've got 5 more minutes on that. What should we start with?
I think we should start with the protocol sync thesis, which is Uniswap on TradingView. I'm not sure. This is kind of an atypical protocol sync thesis take, but I think it fits. I'm counting it. Are you counting it?
I'm counting it. But what is TradingView for people who haven't used it?
Yeah, TradingView is kind of the go-to place to look at charts, right? And they have charts from all different markets, all different assets, and like are definitely leading the world with crypto charts. And they integrated their first DEX, right, with Uniswap. So now you can use Uniswap or use TradingView to chart things on Uniswap, right? And so, I've noticed a ton of traders who have gotten into the DeFi space in the last 3 or 4 months. I'm sure they are absolutely stoked about this release.
Yeah, like this is a mainstream kind of trading, graphing and analytics piece of software that everyone uses. If you're trading stocks, if you're trading bonds, no matter what you're trading, it's like universally used, and it's absolutely fantastic. And now they're integrating Uniswap. So if you type in Uniswap : you get to see all of the I think this is rated by the most liquidity of markets on Uniswap. It's just like an exchange that just as they would incorporate a centralized exchange, now they're incorporating Uniswap. I'd say that's pretty that's compelling evidence for the protocol sync thesis, which basically states that these incredibly neutral protocols will kind of sink to the bottom and become the basis of a lot of other things.
Agreed.
What else should we talk about in the new releases? What else happened?
Something that's pretty cool is that Wi-Fi and balancer governance or has been added to Maker collateral, or I think there's a governance vote for this. And so if you are a Wi-Fi holder or if you're a balancer holder, and maybe you are also an MKR holder, you should go vote in the Maker governance to get your Wi-Fi or balancer integrated as collateral in Maker DAO.
It's good to see those DeFi capital assets in there instead of like something like USDC, which is like a centralized stablecoin. That's pretty, I'm glad Maker is moving in that direction. Now the better assets are on Ethereum.
Agreed.
All right. Danny Ryan's got something. So bounty program for ETH2. What's that about?
Yeah, so this is this is an open invitation for people who want to try and filibuster ETH2. And so if you think you can
I
find
don't want
something
to.
to stop ETH2, there is a bounty available. I believe there's a $50,000 reward for a critical bug discovery. And so there's a bunch of different things that you can try and figure out how to poke holes in Ethereum. And there's a bunch of financial rewards to do this, right? And so really, really good to see this out and running. This is starting to generate that honeypot where it says like, I dare you to crack ETH2. Like,
Yeah.
You can't do it. I dare you.
Hopefully we iron those things out. This is a good way to do a bug bounty. Also, this was huge, man. Huge. MetaMask, the wallet, like everyone in DeFi, everyone on the Bankless journey uses MetaMask. They just exceeded 1 million users, not just users, monthly active users. That means there are 1 million monthly active users of DeFi protocols. That's pretty huge.
That's huge. And this, I think this is a much better metric than the Uni airdrop, right? So the Uni airdrop happened to like 150,000 wallets, which means like 150,000 people interacted with Uniswap, but I had more than one wallet. And so like, we should probably cut that number in at least by half, but this is different. This is monthly active users. And so, not fewer people have like multiple computers that they use MetaMask on, and most people just have one. And so, I'm going to go ahead and call this as like pretty accurate data for, how often people use Ethereum, or excuse me, how many different people use Ethereum. So, fantastic numbers showing by the MetaMask team.
Yeah, absolutely. They're also rolling out a swap, which is pretty cool. Hopefully we're going to talk more about that next week. We've got 2 other things, David, but we've got like 30 seconds. So I'm going to cover this one really quick. This is the Zinken Testnet. This is the ETH2 testnet that rolled out without a hitch, which is a good sign that ETH2 is going to be coming. I guess the next thing we're really waiting for is a release date from the ETH2 dev team. So bullish there. Also, you wanted to talk about the block and their new metrics that they rolled out. What's cool here?
Yeah, the block just rolled out their on-chain metrics page, really stepping into the world of data, like chain visualizations and chain data. So they have Bitcoin and Ethereum. They also have and I think they're really leading the game here. They also have like stats on, stable coins, stats on like on-chain lending, stats on AMMs and DEXs and volume. And so I think this is going to maybe become like my go-to spot to see like data about Ethereum.
Yeah, I need to totally dig into this. This is fantastic. We'll include a link in the show notes. All right, we've done market, we've done releases. We're doing okay on time. We've got 5 more minutes, maybe 4 for news. What's in the news? Where do you want to start?
I think the big thing is Grayscale. Grayscale just reported their biggest quarter ever, which is a piece of news that we are coming to be used to from Grayscale, as this is the 3rd quarter in a row that they have posted their biggest quarter ever, right? And so they have experienced over $1 billion of flows into their crypto products. That's a really big number.
That's a big number.
The Ethereum market cap is $40 billion. And so like 1/40th of Ethereum has flowed through Grayscale in just 1 quarter of a year, right? Yeah. And so what I think the numbers that stood out to me is that every week, on average, $55 billion gets put into Grayscale, into the Bitcoin Trust, and $15.6 million per week gets added to the Ethereum Trust. Every single week, that's how much people are buying of these assets using Grayscale as like I don't know what to call them, like an intermediary service. Yeah,
I don't love Grayscale because of the fees, but I do love that they are onboarding basically the institutions. People always talk about, when are the institutions coming? Well, they're here. They're doing $1 billion. A quarter into crypto money protocols. I think that's super bullish. You can buy Grayscale assets, of course, in your Fidelity account, so it's connected that way. So it's a decent. It's not bankless, but it's a decent way to onboard into at least central bankless monetary system. So bullish news there. Let's talk about something.
Good distinction. I like that distinction.
Yeah, well, so let's talk about something that's maybe less bullish, which is the DOG. So the Department of Justice released an 83-page crypto framework. I haven't read all 83 pages. Have you?
I don't know. I have not, and I don't intend to. However, the very front page is worth reading. And also Jake Chervinsky put a great tweet thread together, which really distills down the whole thing. So he read it and he did the legwork for you. So we recommend that tweet thread to go understand what the hell they're talking about.
Absolutely. And, we had Jake on I guess a couple weeks ago, on State of the Nation. He was fantastic. Like, listen to that episode. Yep. And we talk about those themes, but I just want to maybe pull up one of his tweet threads here. This is kind of the takeaway. So this is, Jake is, he's optimistic, but he's also, I guess, understands the risk. He, works in DC, understands the risk of what could be happening. And he said, sort of on the back of some of the actions of the DOJ, I fear we're heading for a world where withdrawing crypto from exchanges to self-custody is restricted as a means of attacking privacy. That means you wouldn't be able to withdraw from your exchange without that exchange being AML KYC identified. That would mean we'd have two separate crypto markets, one for clean coins and another for dirty self-sovereign runs, the bankless coins and the clean coins that are regulator approved. That is not a world that I want to live in. That feels very authoritarian. That could be the case if our boomer lawmakers who don't understand this stuff get their way. So that is something that Jake and crew are fighting against, but we have to be vigilant on this. Yeah. Anything else you'd say on that?
Yeah, just to put an image into people's minds, think of like, what they are proposing is that, Bitcoin, Ether, these assets are here, but we can still gate how people use them, right? So imagine like Coinbase or PayPal, they let you buy and send Bitcoin, but they only let you buy and send Bitcoin to people that also have a PayPal account, right?
Right.
Like that's what Jake fears is, and that's just ruins the whole point of crypto, right? And so let it be known there is a war coming that we are going to have to fight in this industry.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think the DeFi protocols are the surest bet we have, the best hope we have of this system not becoming totally banked. Hey, we've got 30 seconds for this last one. China is doing an airdrop. What's that about? They're airdropping their fiat to some of their citizens.
Yeah, and I let it be known that everyone loved Uniswap when Uniswap airdropped them their currency. So like this is a really strong move by China, the first one to get out the gate with a central bank digital currency. One thing I read about in a book recently is how the West doesn't pay attention to the technology going on in China, but China absolutely pays attention to the technology going on in the West. And so we are at a huge disadvantage with informational asymmetry between like what we are doing versus what China's doing. China knows what's up and we're not watching them. China has a central bank digital currency that is going directly to its citizens' phones, which, I mean, bullish for crypto, bullish for adoption, also really bullish for authoritarianism. Right, like that, which is so like what I'm worried about is like using China using this airdrop money or like the MMT that's inevitably coming as like a tool for compliance.
Yeah, I mean, so you just open up your wallet, right? They make it super easy. You press a few buttons and you get an airdrop, free money from the government right to your account just for adopting this new digital. I wouldn't call it a cryptocurrency. It's a digital money, but it's completely centrally controlled by China. They can freeze your account. Obviously, it's the Chinese currency, so central bank controls all of that. Definitely not what we mean when we say crypto, but in a way, they're very smart for moving in this direction. David, okay, so we've gone through news. Those are the top news items. We have less time, but some hot takes. What's on your mind?
Yeah, what is on my mind? I think the first thing that's on my mind is what you and I are calling the tweet heard around the world. I think it's a fantastic and very illustrative tweet. Ryan, you wanted to give us the sit rep with this one?
Yeah, Pomp like tweeted something out. Like Anthony Pompliano, who has a podcast, is fairly well known in the space. Big podcast, and he tweeted something out that basically said, Uncle Jeff could shut this whole thing down, this whole thing meaning Ethereum, Jeff Bezos and all DeFi if he wanted to, because he was implying that all of DeFi was somehow hosted in AWS. I don't engage with those types of tweets because, possibly Pop is doing it for engagement himself. So I generally don't respond to kind of trolling, but someone tagged me and it was like, hey, Ryan, is this true? Right. And it felt like that individual earnestly wanted to know. Right. So I said, no, it's not true. In fact, it's bullshit. Right. And then Pomp kind of replied in thread and sort of challenged me on that. And he was like, hey, if the government threatened to arrest Hayden, who is the founder and a primary developer of Uniswap, you don't think the government could shut it down? And then that's when Hayden popped in and he said this, and he totally ratioed on the tweet. That means he got more tweets than Pomp on this. It's an immutable smart contract on Ethereum. I have no ability to turn it off. I could try tweeting, "Can everyone please stop trading," though? But that wouldn't work, obviously.
Yeah. So people who aren't in Twitter culture, to ratio someone means that your comment to their tweet outdoes them in likes. And like when you are commenting below them, you are deprioritized by Twitter because, you know, it's a thread. But so that means when like you get more likes than that person, like it's a big deal because your comment was so good that it ratioed that person. And Pomp's tweet has 53 likes and Hayden Adams has 2,300 likes.
That's brutal. I've never seen a ratio that big.
It's the most brutal ratio of all
in crypto.
time.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I mean, what that means is a lot of people like saw Hayden's tweet and were like, "Yeah, that's true," and and retweeted it. So
Ryan,
I
could
feel
you
like
imagine this happened in like the bear market in 2018? That would have never have happened.
No, it was a maximalist agenda. It was lots of different lies about things, and yeah, that would have never happened. So you know, DeFi is back, baby. Yeah, and
people waking up.
Exactly, people waking up. It's a good sign to me. All right, let's talk about the next thing. Speaking of waking up, I don't know how to take this. I'm super bullish by it in a way, but I'm also like question mark. So we just talked about the oppressive government cracking down on things. And this is the CFTC chair attending a conference that you just attended as well and you just spoke at. But he said, let me basically say how impressed I am by Ethereum, full stop. This is Chairman Heath, a CFTC chairman. He said this in an Ethereum investment conference hosted by CoinDesk. If you play the video a bit more, he also says he's super bullish on DeFi, actually. He actually thinks it could have the potential to disrupt finance. So like, what do you make of this, right? So here's CFTC. They just came out with an action against BitMEX, but a chairman is saying, I am super bullish on DeFi and Ethereum is the next internet. Bitcoin was a one-trick pony. Ethereum is the next internet. What does this mean?
Yeah, that's literally, well, as a Bitcoiner, that's literally the last thing you want to hear. Right. I am cautiously optimistic, but more on the optimistic than the cautious side. I think what I'm hopeful and optimistic that Heath means when he says that he is impressed by Ethereum is like exactly the opposite of what BitMEX is, right? CFTC just took down BitMEX for being a black box that trades against their customers, right? And also violating the Bank Secrecy Act, which also, I guess DeFi doesn't really solve, but what DeFi does solve is it's the opposite of a black box. It's completely transparent and it doesn't even not trade against its customers. It can't trade against its customers. So I'm hoping that Heath is seeing that value proposition in DeFi, saying like, oh, they're you know, where Google had its tagline, don't be evil, DeFi has its tagline, can't be evil, right? I think that's what he's referring to and why he's impressed by Ethereum.
Yeah, it is bullish. I do think we might have an ally in the CFTC. We'll see if we have an ally in FinCEN, which is the group in the government that you know, provides more regulation to like anti-money laundering and KYC type of things. All right, last thing.
What I'm cautious about is that you know, Heath sees the transparency of Ethereum as like a really easy tool to regulate people. That's my bearish take on this.
Yeah, and that could be the case, which is, I wonder what he'd think of Tornado Cash in that case. And also Aztec, dude, we should jump on that real quick. So scaling solutions are coming out like mad. There were like 3 that just announced last week. We don't have time to talk about them all. In fact, I don't have time to fully grasp them all. It's going to be sort of a survival of the fittest. All of these layer 2 rollups on Ethereum are going to compete. They're probably going to compete not with Ethereum, of course, but directly against the so-called ETH killers and other layer 1 solutions. But here's the graph with the scalable state channel layer 2 on Ethereum. Here is Matter Labs. This is Curve plus ZK Sync. And here's Aztec, the one I read the most about and most excited about, which is a whole layer 2 scalability solution. Yeah, that also, but there's also all the transactions are private.
Right.
And there's some way to actually use like privacy on Ethereum main chain. I haven't read the details, need to investigate more. In fact, maybe we'll ask Vitalik next week when we talk to him. But yeah, these layer 2 solutions, the scalability solutions are coming out like crazy. What does that mean?
Yeah, and what's also interesting is that there seems to be every single DeFi application has its own like chosen scalability solution, which kind of makes you think like what's left on the main chain. And I think what's left on the main chain is just like packets of
settlement
of settlements. Yeah, right. Like not any, like it's no longer Uniswap is like 70% of the main chain. Now it's just like the settlements between these applications are what make up the main chain. So that's really interesting. And I think that's going to be a really interesting conversation that we have with Vitalik, who's coming on the podcast, where we talk about a roll-up centric version of Ethereum.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's takes. Let's end with this. David, what are you most excited about? What's going on in your mind that's super exciting these days?
Well, since it is Friday when you guys are hearing this, what I am excited about is the ETH Online DeFi Summit. We are experimenting in the world of virtual conferences, how to pace them. And I think ETH Online is doing a really good job of doing, they have their Fridays. So one day a week, they have, a slate of topics picked out, which is nice instead of just like bundling everything in 4 days, they're spreading it out over a month. So really good job. There's a bunch of cool talkers who I'm going to be attending. I'm probably just going to sit in my chair and watch it all day tomorrow. I'm pretty excited about that. Ryan, what are you excited about?
I'm excited about the ETH Online. When you click the radio button, you hear this like super chill music, and it's just relaxing. So you just pop up the browser and just listen to it.
Yeah, but definitely Trent behind that one, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, but more seriously, I am excited about like tokens, DeFi tokens in general, right? We came off of a crazy quarter last quarter, and Lucas Campbell, a Bankless analyst, put out a fantastic Q3 report of DeFi tokens. So you got to check this out. It's published on Bankless right now. 27x increase in revenue. Right. All right. Okay. So we're not talking about hype price increase, blah, blah, blah. This is revenue. So again, DeFi tokens, what are they? They're future capital assets, right? And what kind of revenue are these capital assets generating? Well, 108 million last quarter. Okay. That was a 26x increase from the previous quarter. Yeah. Some of this was from yield farming mania, blah, 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 et cetera. But that kind of growth is absolutely massive. And it's going to go down next quarter, but it's not going to go down completely. We're going to have a higher low, if you will. So that means, what do we have in DeFi? Well, we have capital assets that are actually producing cash flows. Seems super investable if you're a Wall Street analyst and you're looking at this space. So check out the report, read that. I'm bullish on that. I'm bullish that we've created on-chain capital assets, and we're actually seeing them like 108 million in revenue in 1 quarter. Like that's on track for $500 million annualized. It's not bad.
Ryan, I think you might have jumped the gun on it's going to go down next quarter. I'm not too sure about that. But I will say that Q3 2020 looks different than all other Qs.
Yeah.
Q3 is different.
This is definitely a quarter to remember, and we'll see about that. All right, David, we're at time. Anything else you wanna leave with excitement? Anything else you're excited about?
Yeah, the last thing I'm excited about is seeing what happens to the Ether price as the execution risk of Ethereum 2.0 starts to dwindle, right? So we are in the very final stages of the testnet for phase 0. The Spinalda testnet is up and live, which is the mock trial for the deposit contract. And we are expecting the deposit contract to get announced any day now. And basically what has to happen between now and phase 0 launching is basically nothing. It just needs to continue as planned, right? So things need to not change in order for phase 0 to go live. And when a lot of investors who have always been bearish about ETH2 saying ETH2 is never going to come here, we're going to start tearing down that wall every now and then.
Yep, sentiment is going to reverse. The common motif is that ETH2 will never ship. Well, what happens when it shifts? When it ships, we're about to find out. I suppose.
About to find out. That is on the horizon.
David,
you can almost taste the capitulation.
You can almost taste it, absolutely. And we hope you are enjoying. It tastes like victory. We'll see though. Let's let it launch. But we're going to celebrate hard.
Oh yeah,
when that launches.
Oh yeah.
David, this has been awesome. Our first episode of Rollups Around. We hope you are enjoying your Friday morning. We hope this caught you up on all of the market releases, news, hot takes, and what David and I are personally excited about. So once again, we will release these every Friday morning on YouTube, if you like it in video form, and also on the podcast for audio. Thanks for joining us. I think we've kept to time. We've done a pretty good job. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is the journey west, as we've said. Be careful about these DeFi protocols and crypto in general. You could lose what you put in. This is not for everyone, but you're listening because you're on the Bankless journey. Thanks for joining us.
And also, people listening on the podcast, there are plenty of visuals on the YouTube as well. So do know that.
Do note that.
Yes.
With that, we're signing off.